I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm the guy.
Wrestling fans, it's Thursday once again, and you are tuned in to the best NXT post-show and SmackDown pre-show analysis around. You are listening to WWEC Radio. I'm Tommy Sharp alongside Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. We've got a heck of a show for you today as we jump in to the new era post-WrestleMania. Gentlemen, how are you? How are we feeling?
Doing good. Changes in the air. Post-WrestleMania Raw, as you said. Since the last time we talked a week ago, we've had NXT TakeOver Dallas, WWE Hall of Fame, WrestleMania 32, NXT, Monday Night Raw. How could I forget? Always amped to talk about the world of wrestling here on WWEC Radio, but especially today, as we analyze what we saw this past weekend. We rewind it, recap it, take a look back at it, try to understand it, maybe overanalyze a little bit as well. This is WWEC Radio.
That's what we do here. We overanalyze for your benefit out there. But all through the filter of looking specifically at what NXT has done last night and what SmackDown is about to do tonight. Because tonight is the night, as the WWE wants to say. But to be honest, after hearing the way that Mauro Ranallo called the pre-show matches for WrestleMania and just what he brings, that level of energy and enthusiasm to any pre-show that he is part of and any main show that he is part of, that is all the more reason why I am excited to see the WWE SmackDown presentation of what happens after WrestleMania tonight.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Mauro Ranallo has pretty much been the change of SmackDown, and he's bringing some legitimacy to the commentators' booth. So it was great to hear him on the TakeOver pre-show with Lita. And I think Corey Graves. Was Corey Graves there too? Graham?
No, it was Renee Young.
And
it was
Lita.
Renee Young, Lita, and
Mauro.
Yeah,
that
he
was
just
really
called the
good.
show. Corey
And
just
then,
called
like
the
you
show.
said, the pre-show at WrestleMania was great.
Yep.
I wish that voice could have carried throughout the night, because it just lends this thread of excitement to every single match, because he is genuinely excited about every single match. Mm-hmm. And the thing about the commentary being such a focal point right now is that this is the type of change that we've all wanted to see. This is exactly the level of sports commentary that professional wrestling and sports entertainment truly deserve. It's where they intersect. Mauro brings both sides to the table. He is a combat sports announcer with a deep passion and respect for the professional sports entertainment wrestling business, and he brings out the best in all of those words and everything that he brings to those matches. So I was thrilled to hear him be part of the NXT show, be part of WrestleMania, and I am excited for the flagship of the WWE television programming to be on tonight, and for Mauro Ranallo to call what is going to be a jam-packed night of events. We have the Vaudevillians making their SmackDown debut, making their WWE main roster debut. What do you think about that?
On SmackDown, nonetheless. I mean, it's very few people can say, especially this day and age, with SmackDown kind of taking the backseat to Raw, unfortunately. Tyler Breeze, Bo Dallas come to mind of people who made their WWE debut on the Blue brand. The Vaudevillains, we talked about them here on the show before. They just don't do much for me. I enjoy the gimmick. I like both guys. It just seems like, especially in recent months, they've been trying to find their footing on NXT. They're great wrestlers. I was there when they won the NXT Tag Team titles. I went nuts, probably just because they didn't want Blake and Murphy to be champions anymore. But we'll see. We'll see how they, fare in the main roster. Now, RJ, you made this great comparison, as many other people did as well, and you can elaborate in a second. But could they be the second coming of the Ascension on SmackDown? I wouldn't be shocked, but I want to get your thoughts.
When it comes to the Vaudevillains, like the Ascension was different, because I feel like the NXT universe actually cared about the Ascension. The Vaudevillains, just like you said, they've turned so many times. Their face, their heel, their face, their heel. They really don't do it for me in the ring. Their gimmick is, like you said, it's kind of like it probably won't get over on the main roster. And I think debut on SmackDown, it's kind of like the kiss of death, like you've been saying. Like Tyler Breeze was good for a month or two, then he was done. The Ascension didn't even get off. They didn't even have any positive. They just kept losing and losing. And I feel like the Vaudevillains eventually, once you get out of that WrestleMania crowd, the Alabamas and the Mississippi crowds aren't going to give two craps about them.
No, I think after we saw Tyler Breeze take on Apollo Crews this week on Raw, it's a very telling sign of some of the ways that they're going to have the NXT call-ups interact with the rest of the show right now. Just, why go into unfamiliar territory and start feuds that don't make sense whatsoever when you can introduce, some more of the NXT competitors against themselves on a main roster platform. And that being said, there are always those subtle transformations like you were mentioning in the Ascension, where I think that they went a bit beyond what worked for them in NXT when they made their main roster debut and got too many quick comparisons to the Road Warriors and, just with the face paint and the shoulder pads and all of those types of things. So I wonder what kind of amplified persona the Vaudevillains are going to take on tonight, and that could either go one of two ways. They have put in all the work, they have tested the waters, so to speak, maybe against our better judgment or appreciation rather, but for better or worse, they have tested the waters of being in between heel, in between tweener, in between face, and now what are we going to see from them? Who are they going to confront? And that will be very telling of the direction that this new hope for the WWE has. And is Shane McMahon still setting all of these things in motion, or was this just a one-off? I guess we're going to have to keep watching. Thanks, Vince and everyone involved. But nonetheless, we are going to see some other exciting things tonight. I don't doubt that we will see Roman Reigns continue his victory tour, his victory lap, if you will, of everything right now, and I'm sure everyone in the audience will shower him with favorable welcomes.
And this is SmackDown, by the way, too, that show where they traditionally, try to put in canned cheers or canned boos. I have a feeling tonight they're not going to do that with Roman Reigns. Again, like RJ said, this is the still, not everyone stayed over for SmackDown, but there are that, select few that stayed over for the entire weekend. A lot of people go for WrestleMania. A portion of those people stay for Raw. Very few people stay for SmackDown. But there's still that, not majority, but there's still that select few that stay for SmackDown. I believe we will hear those boos tonight for the big dog on SmackDown. And just to see, I want to see how he responds to the new challenge of AJ Styles. We kind of heard from him on Monday night, getting poured on, an outpouring of boos for Big Dog on Monday night. Tonight should be interesting because since then, we have a new number one contender in the phenomenal one, AJ Styles.
That's absolutely true. And speaking of number one contenders, we also have a new number one contender to the Intercontinental title, because after The Miz won the title from Zack Ryder after a fantastic ladder match victory from Zack, we are probably going to see Zack Ryder have a rematch with The Miz pretty quickly here. I don't know if that's on the card for tonight or if that's something that's going to be built up for a little while, but I'm really interested to see what The Miz is going to hold over Zack Ryder and how he's going to approach all of this.
All of this is just happening not way too fast, just so fast. I mean, you look at the last week alone. Since we sat here 1 week ago, we had a new Intercontinental Champion crowned in shocking fashion at WrestleMania in Zack Ryder, which I loved. And RJ, you weren't a huge fan of that. You love KO. I love KO too. I just love the moment of the Long Island IZ getting his WrestleMania moment in shocking fashion, like I said. Very next night, less than 24 hours later, losing that same championship to The Miz with the returning Maurice by his side, which I love the pairing of. We'll get into that momentarily, too. Now, tonight on SmackDown, our third IC title match in the last, how many hours? 4 or 5 days. So we're getting the Intercontinental Championship defended tonight on SmackDown, and a nice little rare treat for the Blue brand. Should be a good match. I love the idea of a Ryder and Miz feud. If it continues beyond this point, they have very good chemistry. They had a good match on Raw. But I think moreover than anything else, I'm looking forward to seeing how Maurice kind of, fits into this whole equation, seeing how the sexiest of sexy, as she used to call herself on WWE TV, kind of fits into this whole ongoing, dilemma with The Miz and Zack Ryder.
Yeah, no, and again, just so much happening all the time. Going to jump off more of the number one contenders talk. We have women's championship wrestling contenders going for the number one spot, and I believe we're going to see Natalya and Summer Rae compete in some of that. Now, it's easy to write off someone like Summer Rae based on things that have been done in the past, but I'm going to go with the present, and I have liked Summer Rae from the start. I've always thought that she has had an arrogance to her stride and like a spring in her kick, and that was seen like tenfold during the 10-woman women's and divas match that they had on WrestleMania. So just knowing that she's going to be competing against Natalya, who really brings out like some competition in anybody that she's facing, because Natalya is sets a very high standard. I'm very excited to see how this whole picture plays out for the women's championship title.
And only once there did you say the term diva.
And I only mentioned it because it's the proper name for that match.
Yes, and that's what happened. I mean, that match happened before the official change, so technically it was a 10 diva tag team.
It was the Team Divas versus Bad and Blonde.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a distinction with the Total Divas television show.
Yes.
That was interesting and made all the more interesting by Brie Bella announcing her retirement.
A lot of stuff going on in women's wrestling the last week. Like I said, with the IC title picture. I'll throw this to RJ. I know, RJ, you are, for Next Day Wrestling, our senior diva columnist. No longer. You are the senior women's columnist or women's wrestling. We haven't officially decided on that.
Officially changed that
We'll look at it. You haven't written your next article yet, but I want to get your thoughts on the revamping of the women's division in WWE and the retirement of Brie Bella. I know you're a huge Brie Mode fan.
I think the rebranding of the women's division has been in the works for a while. I think we all wanted it once the butterfly belt came out, and it was kind of like everyone got the belt. Like over those years, like Layla, Michelle McCool, Maryse, Kelly, Natalia, Beth Phoenix, like everyone held that title. Eve,
Alicia Fox,
AJ, Caitlyn. There's so many people we can name.
Paige,
Brie Bella, Nikki Bella. Oh my goodness, it's just so many people. But now that they have this brand new, pretty much women's heavyweight championship, because the thing looks just like the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I like it better, honestly. I like the white strap and the red look behind the W. But the match on Sunday, the 10 women, I didn't really care for. I thought it was kind of sloppy. But the triple threat was amazing. Easily the best women's championship match or women's match at all at WrestleMania. And it was good to see Charlotte, retain, but it kind of leaves Becky and Sasha in like women purgatory right now because we really don't know what they're doing since they're focusing on Natalia and Charlotte.
Yeah, no, and I can agree and I can disagree with a couple of your points, and specifically just with the 10-woman match at WrestleMania. I thought that the presentation of Bad and Blonde came out like a full-force presence. When you have Summer Rae and Lana with these like capes flowing off of the back of their outfit and attire, being the blonde of Bad and Blonde, on either side of Naomi and Tamina, just this wrecking crew, kind of brute force coming down the ring at you, and they all get into the ring and they confront the Total Divas, which kind of represents that like change of the guard, and especially now that Brie has retired. I mean, certainly a lot of those female competitors and those women's competitors have to reset their sights. Certain key players are not in the fold right now, and there's an opportunity for them to go after this new belt. So I thought that the psychology behind the 10-woman match was excellent. I thought that when Paige got that hot tag and she came in really hard against Naomi and was quick, and then Naomi got out and then was quickly hit by Summer Rae with a spinning heel kick, and then we finally get that hot tag for Lana to get in. We see Lana in the ring for the first time, and she's wearing something that the Fabulous Moolah would wear, and it looks awesome, and she's doing like even more leg work and kick work. I thought that this was a new change, definitely a new direction for the style that we see in the ring, and certainly now we have people like Natalia with her in-ring style being, from the dungeon, and from Summer Rae just being more of that new high-energy leg work, ring work style. So I think that this, just seeing everybody that was in the division over WrestleMania weekend now enables them to have this match on SmackDown where it doesn't seem out of the blue. It doesn't seem out of the blue because we just saw Natalia square off against Summer Rae in the ring. So the feuds are alive, and I feel like because they're a contained number of competitors, they have this opportunity to write them very well into some really prominent roles.
SmackDown will be interesting tonight just to see if Charlotte gets involved in that match between Natalia and Summer Rae. A lot of history there, too, that we neglected to mention. I mean, not very documented, but they had a lot of history on Total Divas. They kind of translated that to the main roster for a cup of coffee a few years ago, but that was about it. Two great athletes, like you said, Tom. I'm not a huge fan of Summer Rae, but I feel like she has a lot of untapped potential. She's kind of been relegated to the role of manager for a long, long time, and only recently, especially at WrestleMania and before that, the last couple of weeks, she picked up a win over Paige not too long ago. So she has talent, she has potential. I would love to see more from her tonight on SmackDown, especially Natalia. I feel like we've gotten to a point where we've seen her in the title picture enough where I don't know if people can buy into her as a threat to the Divas or rather to the Women's Championship. It's going to take a while to get adjusted to that, but it's also going to be interesting to see tonight how Becky and Sasha respond. Sasha was in action on Monday. She didn't say anything, though. She beat Summer Rae, kind of tying it all back around. Becky, though, we didn't hear from her at all. She wasn't in action. She's still kind of rehabbing an eye injury, so we'll see what the last kicker has to say tonight on SmackDown, too.
Yeah, hoping to see a lot of interaction from, all of the women competitors right now. They are just absolutely killing it in the ring. So we have a couple of things that we can go over from the NXT TakeOver Dallas show that I've been dying to talk to you guys about. I think we just kick it right off with American Alpha's win over the Revival. High energy. I mean, it was explosive from Jordan and Gable all night long, and they certainly took the win. And now there was one moment that I want to discuss with you guys when the Revival, as it were, botched a spot. I didn't see it that way. I saw this as the critical flaw when they lost the match. It was all downhill for them after that, and I feel like if they had hit that move, then potentially the Revival retains, because they were setting up something pretty powerful, and they completely missed, and that caught them so off guard, threw them off their game, and American Alpha was flawless. They were in the zone the entire time they were in that ring, and they knew exactly where they were presence-wise all the time. So what did you guys think about the whole way everything went down?
I think that was probably one of the best matches I've seen American Alpha have in NXT so far. They, like you said, they were shooting their guns, and they looked flawless on Friday night. They gave the Revival everything they had, and like you said, after that botched move, the Revival really didn't have any chance against Gable and Jordan. They hit the hot tag. Jordan cleared the ring. Gable came in for the finish. And I like how they had a lot of near falls, and it was like you actually were on your feet, like, oh my god, are they gonna win? Like they had a lot of interesting near falls, or like moments like Gable was about to tag him, and then Dawson came underneath the ring, or Wilder didn't pull him off the rope. Like I think they had so many different interesting things that happened throughout the match. Like you're on your feet, like, oh my god, is he gonna win? Is he not gonna win? Like they had you on your feet the whole time, and that was very compelling for me. I think that's what you want as a wrestling fan to is this it? Instead of just nope, he's going to kick out because he's gonna. So, Graham?
Did you ever fix that window that I jumped through after American Alpha won?
No.
Oh, come on, RJ. Of course, no wonder it's getting chilly in your mod. I went nuts when they won the match. But, I mean, even speaking of the match itself, like you said, great match. I feel like I say this after every NXT TakeOver, but these tag team title matches are just getting better and better and better. Vaudevillains, Blake and Murphy in Brooklyn, very good match. The ones that respect for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, great matches, specifically Joe and I think it was American Alpha, actually, versus Corbin and Rhino. Very good match. In London, we have Enzo and Cass versus the Revival. Awesome match. I thought this match was even better, and I think RJ hit the nail right on the head. In that the near falls, RJ, you can attest this, we were watching it together, that I went nuts during every near fall just because they had me on the edge of not even on the edge of my seat, out of my seat, right next to the TV. Because after knowing what happened in London, when we thought Enzo and Cass, they have it in the bag, I'm not going to get excited because I feel like we already know they're going to win. They lost. The Revival, and I love this about them too. You talked about the psychology earlier, Tom. They are such old school, traditional, great heels, the Revival are. They went through every trick in the book, and it was that one move that cost them the contest and subsequently the championships. But they took out the titles. They had their feet on the ropes. They were pulling the tights. Every trick in the book. That's what makes them such awesome old school heels.
And that's what's gotten them the wins in the past.
Exactly.
They have pulled out all of those things and have been flawless at hitting their spots. And those two things together is what made them the tag team champions. So when you remove even just one element, American Alpha was there to exploit it, expose it, and complete the victory, and they walk away with the tag team championships. A very emotional Jason Jordan backstage afterwards, talking about the match and just seeing the toll that the effort puts on a person's mind, and it weighs on in their heart, and what that brought out of him in that post-show interview. I mean, Gable certainly was supportive of every bit of it, and realized how long Jason Jordan has been seeking this, seeking that level of competition for himself, and to see him on the other side of that, I was very excited and happy for him, and excited to see what they're going to do next, because they're going to have to continue to step it up with all of this competition constantly coming their way. So, just a huge moment. Unbelievable way to kick off the show. Couldn't have been more excited that was the kickoff to the show and to the whole weekend. Kudos to them for bearing that weight and completely nailing it. So.
And like you said, you could feel the drama in Jason Jordan when he was talking in that backstage interview. It was incredible. I know, RJ, you and I were sitting here 2 years ago talking about why Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger was not working. I just didn't feel the chemistry there. And as soon as he ditched Ty Dillinger last year and joined up with Chad Gable, they fit like a glove. Amazing chemistry. They've had it since day one. They've been I don't know if they've ever been beaten in tag team competition. I might be wrong. They probably have been, but I can't remember many times that they've lost.
They lost to Corbin and Rhino.
Oh, yeah. Of course, at respect. Okay. Other than that, maybe. I'm at least very few times.
Few losses, but
Few losses.
in the world of NXT, wins and losses do matter, and that is what makes the title reign so important. And the build up to that title reign, because you have a respect for how well they do in competition against their opponents, and that's a clear indicator. Something that the Vaudevillians couldn't really maintain all that well, So I feel like in the realms of who has held those championships and what those teams have done to retain those championships, I think we're going to see a lot of clean wins out of American Alpha, and and that's going to drive a lot of people crazy.
It's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of great matches in NXT now, especially that the tag team division is getting shaken up a little bit with Enzo and Cass getting called up. We have the Vaudevillains on the main roster now. Are the Hype Bros done? I mean, Zack Ryder's involved in the IC title picture. I'm not really sure about that, but I know they signed a new tag team from Australia, maybe? I forgot where they're from. Maybe it was a Japanese tag team. I don't know, but they do have history on the independent circuit, and that was a big signing for NXT. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. I'm looking forward to the rematch, if anything else, between Revival and American Alpha. That should be great, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what was your favorite match outside of I just wanted to get the American Alpha Revival match out of the way, because I think that was easily my favorite match of the night. It's hard to pick one, but what was your favorite match of the night?
I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. Obviously, Elias Sampson, Okay, I'm kidding. So Shinsuke Nakamura versus, and that wasn't even the actual show. That was an NXT. Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn. RJ,
I was going to
take
say
it away.
that same thing.
The match itself, you can talk about it. I can't do it justice by talking about this masterpiece of a match.
It just, I don't know. It's just like right when Sami Zayn came out, you had the energy going, and then Nakamura's music hit, and the crowd went nuts. And his whole entrance was so, I still can see it right now. It was amazing. Him doing all his poses
mannerisms,
and stuff.
yeah.
Yep. Hitting the leaning down. I don't even know what you call it. A pirouette.
On the ropes, yeah.
On the ropes was amazing, and that match had the energy. The crowd was going nuts. The match alone was amazing. Crowd stood up twice for a standing ovation before the match was even over, and then I think the commentary was even good when he hit his finisher. Corey Graves went absolutely nuts, and then the crowd went nuts after, and then they showed that respect between Zayn and Nakamura. But what a debut. Oh, my goodness. I thought it was just an amazing match. I thought probably the best match of the year so far, easily.
Now, he certainly earned that victory over Sami Zayn. He came out, and he was flawless. He was every bit of the showman that his reputation led him to be, and he did not disappoint. He entertained without saying a single word. Just all of his actions spoke louder than anything in that building, and Sami Zayn was there to compete against one of the best talents in the world, and he is a worldwide competitor himself. So to see that much experience in the ring at the same time, I was beyond impressed. I felt something different in that aesthetic and in that match than in anything else, and it was really special.
There's really nothing I could say. The entrances, the energy, the storytelling, the in-ring action, the drama, everything about this match just screamed perfection to me. Like RJ said, my personal favorite. Not even favorite, but the best match. NXT, WWE, any promotion I've seen so far this year. The best match, hands down, in 2016 in the world of pro wrestling. Just both these guys, Sami Zayn, the perfect swan song for the heart and soul of NXT, and he really lived up to that moniker on Friday night. I mean, Sami Zayn has been doing great work since he came back from injury, but this was without a doubt the best match, even considering the matches he had with Samoa Joe, the 45-minute 2 out of 3 count falls match. This was the single-handedly best match in that Sami Zayn has had since coming back from injury back in December, and I look forward to seeing what he does in the main roster and Shinsuke Nakamura. Sami Zayn's departure is his arrival, and he'll be on next week's NXT to face, I think, Elias Sampson at Fan Access from last weekend, but look forward to that. But this guy, to sum it up in one word, is a star. No better way to describe it.
No, A plus. Couldn't be more excited for that competition to be in the ring. But even still, American Alpha and the Revival match. We have Shinsuke Nakamura and Sami Zayn. My favorite match of the night, the match I was looking forward to the most, was Asuka versus then champion Bayley. And I thought that match was fiercely fought. I felt, and everything that we had talked about almost rang true, that Bayley just wasn't ready for the depths at which Asuka digs to, be a competitor that she is. And Bayley reiterated those same sentiments and statements about needing to improve and to get to that level, because it's just so obvious that Asuka is a different level of a competitor than what Bayley is. And while Bayley hung in there, much like Dean Ambrose hung in there with Brock Lesnar, it was really no contest in the end. Asuka clearly had the upper hand, and she took it, and she took that belt, and it looks fantastic on her, and I couldn't be happier about that match.
Match was great. Really, really good match. Continue the strong streak of excellent matches on this show. I don't know if it quite lived up to the expectation of being as good or better than Bayley and Banks from Brooklyn, but even that's a high standard. I mean, even that alone is saying a lot about this match, and that it was very, very good. A lot of great storytelling from both sides, from both Bayley and Asuka.
The fact that it didn't get the same kind of hype push, that kind of advertisement billing of it being, this main event that you really have to pay attention to. It was just as important as any other match on the card, and that's the way it should be. I'm talking about competitors here. We're not talking about a women's division. We're not talking about anything else. We're talking about Asuka and Bayley. And that is the world of professional wrestling that I have always wanted to live in, where it is much like when you go to a local show. The matches are seamless. There is really not a lot of difference between the storytelling that's going on between a male competitor versus female competitors. And now that's what we are seeing, we're just seeing great competition in the ring. And I think that because it wasn't so overhyped, because it wasn't made to be a monumental, game-changing kind of moment, it got to be their moment. They got to shine for the reasons that they are great in that ring, and that's what impressed me the most.
Two of the best women's wrestlers in the world today. I think they really proved it with this matchup. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know the finish was not, critically acclaimed or very well received, but I didn't have a huge problem with it. I felt it was a little anticlimactic because I don't think people knew that was Asuka's finishing hold, because she usually, finishes people off with kicks or, the arm bar or whatever. So I don't know if it was the most, monumental finish in women's wrestling history. But no, I thought it was good. Like you said, it got the belt on Asuka in decisive fashion.
I'm going to have to blame the referee on this. I think that the elimination, for whatever reason, of the hand raising for
what
3,
happened to that?
I don't know where that went, but it used to be the most easy to distinguish visual for any match. You raise the competitor's hand and it drops, and if it drops on that 3rd time, you ring the bell and you have a new champion. It's as clear as it gets. And we don't get that anymore. Not on the main roster, not in NXT. So it's certainly something that the referees are trained to do now. And I don't understand why, but it is what exactly led to all the confusion. There was no presentation of that finish. It was perfectly executed by both competitors. In my opinion, the in-ring referee completely dropped the ball by not selling how that finish went. They barely even signal with high hands in the air to ring the bell anymore. It's usually just a quick point at the ring bell person.
Sometimes you miss that.
And sometimes the award-winning camera work misses.
No. Don't even get me started on that.
Misses, some critical moments that help tie everything together. So from that perspective, I'm going to have to blame the production team, and I'm going to have to blame the in-ring referees for not selling the finish to that match and not understanding what they needed to do on their end to make that clear to everybody. So I don't think that is on Asuka or Bayley. They nailed it.
No. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Lesnar and Taker from SummerSlam. Not quite to that extent, but a lot of people. I mean, RJ, we were there. We were confused. Did he tap out? Did he get beat? What's going on here? Very confusing.
And where is the hand raising? It's the easiest way to tell.
Yeah, I didn't really like the finish. I hate how NXT's been doing it lately, just the choke out and then just ring the bell. Like you said, they have no presentation of, are they actually passed out or does the referee just
She said something after she.
Yeah,
didn't Bailey say something after the match was over, like to the referee, like I'm okay or something? Like if
like,
she was
they
passed
don't-
out, then
yeah.
why would she? I don't know. It makes
They
no
like
sense.
don't show like I hate. They've done it with Joe and Zayn. They did it with Zayn and Kevin Owens. Just like, yep, he's knocked out. Like, guess the match is over. Like, where's that presentation of like, okay, he can't get her out 3 times and they're out. Like, I don't like how they just end abruptly. NXT's done it a lot lately, which has kind of peed me off. But the match alone, I thought was really good, and Oscar winning was great too.
Yeah, new champions. Lots of things changing hands. I mean, we almost had 3 for 3.
That's what I thought this night was going to be all about.
I thought it was going to be an entire change of the guard.
That's what I thought.
But shocking swerve. Finn Balor retains against Samoa Joe, a fierce competitor. I mean, like Samoa Joe, much like we've been talking about, absorbed everything that the Demon could throw at him, but just it wasn't enough. Finn Balor just dug that much deeper, against a big, fierce competitor like Samoa Joe. And I thought it was a great conclusion. It was a great release to all of the action we saw that night. It was a great way to go out. Obviously a big entertaining entrance from Finn Balor, but
The
he got
chainsaw in hand.
yeah, his Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but he got right to work. And Samoa Joe, I'm interested to see not how next week's SmackDown's going to play. And next week's NXT is going to play out, but the week after, towards the end of April, I feel like we're going to start seeing new life coming out of NXT.
It's weird. They have yet to announce when the next special is going to be. And usually by this point we know, like, oh, it's going to be in 2 months or it's going to be in August. I feel like they're going to wait until Brooklyn, which is weird because sometimes they do one in May. They're definitely not doing one next month. Otherwise we would have known about it by now. Maybe they do one in June. I know they're going to, like, the UK on tour or something that day or that month or something for the Rock Festival or whatever. So I feel like they'll wait until Brooklyn. So it might be a while before we get a clear number 1 contender to the NXT Championship. But like you said, Tom, that match was amazing. I thought it was a really, really hard-hitting match. The blood absolutely adding to it. I'm not one of those people like, oh, you need to bleed every single match.
I forgot about how much blood there was.
Crazy. Unintentional, too. First minute of the match. Not even first minute. First
Headbutt.
10 seconds. First 10 seconds. Finn Balor with a headbutt to the Samoan, who has the hardest head of, all Samoans have hard heads. I mean, look at the Usos, look at Roman Reigns, The Rock, but Samoa Joe is the one who got busted open, and it really added a sense of urgency to this matchup. Like, the referees are trying to stop Joe. He's pushing them away, like, let me do this. He's desperate. A desperate Samoa Joe is a dangerous Samoan Submission Machine. That's what we got on Friday night, and he still came up short. Finn Balor, I think it was... He had the chokehold in, the Cohina clutch.
Yeah,
Balor
ran up
the turnbuckle into a pinfall submission or a pinfall a la, I think it was like, they've done it before with like Bret Hart and Bob Backlund or something like that. I don't know. But it was a great move, great finish. I was shocked to see Balor retain, but the match itself,
Shocked.
very shocked. Hard-hitting affair. The whole night was filled with great matches, but hard-hitting affairs. You look at Bailey and Asuka, Shinsuke and Sami Zayn were beating the living crap out of each other. Sami Zayn looked like he was dead. And the end of the rest of the ladder match that Sunday. And then Balor and Joe was just something else. The blood was incredible. I don't know if it would have made it. To me, it was better than the match they had in London. But to me, just because of the blood, and that was unintentional too. I thought everything about this match was very well portrayed, perceived. Everything about it was just so well handled that I loved it.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good match. We were kind of annoyed. The referee kept coming in, stopping the match with the blood. Like, the crowd eventually said, "Let Joe bleed," and he's like shaking his head up and down. But like you said, it added that storytelling. Like, he'll go anywhere. It does not matter. The blood won't worry him. Like, he's just trying to win that championship. But like I said, shockingly, Finn Balor beat Joey Samoa, and it'll be interesting to see what surfboard selling Samoan does next. So
why wasn't Joey Samoa on Raw with the Hawaiian shirt, sporting the Hawaiian shirt? That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the new number 1. Who's the 4th guy in the number 1 contenders match? Oh, Cesaro, boo. No, I'm just kidding. I went crazy for Cesaro, but it's like, damn it, I wanted Samoa Joe so bad, because that's the next question. I want to ask you this, Tommy. What is next for Samoa Joe? He came up short twice against Finn Balor, which is almost unprecedented. Where does he go from here? He's not injured. It's not like Sami Zayn when he lost twice to Kevin Owens. He took some time off to, recoup from his injuries and whatever to kind of recuperate. Where does Samoa Joe go from here? And he didn't even speak. They talked to him after the match was over in that backstage segment. Samoa Joe, your thoughts on tonight's match? Immediately stormed right past him. This is the best incarnation of Samoa Joe. I'm just wondering, where does he go from here?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm not even sure. You would want to speculate, oh, this means, main roster. This means, but what would it mean if he stayed in NXT? Because clearly he's hell-bent on the NXT, on any championship. The highest prize, wherever he's at, is what he's interested in. So to continue going against Finn Balor, is he going to erode away at the confidence that he and anybody supports him has? Or is he going to trade one league for another and move up to a higher level of competition, knowing that he still hasn't bested Finn Balor in competition? You know, does he feel like he could best, you know, the likes of anybody on the main roster right now? You know, because he certainly has the skill set to do it, but if he can't prove it in the ring against people like, and this is where those wins and losses matter for a guy like Joe, you know, much like Baron Corbin, who continually tried to win over William Regal, win over anybody in NXT to continue to give him number one contender spots. After a while, they just told him to go away, and he ended up going to the main roster.
He won the Under the John Memorial Battle Royal.
Yeah, went on to win the Battle Royal.
What an impactful debut.
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions that I have, and because of the filming schedule of NXT, it's going to be a little while before we fully see what's going on, because he might not even appear for a bit.
Might take time off, yeah. Who knows?
You know, he's got to let this sink in a little bit, because his next move has to be strategic, and he needs a win. He needs that victory, and whether or not we see the long rumored Balor Club, Bullet Club members come to NXT, which I think would make the most natural sense versus jumping to the main roster, and maybe Samoa Joe, confronts all of them. Who knows?
Perhaps.
I would be very much interested in seeing that version of a one versus all.
Pure speculation here. Could we see a Samoa Joe Austin Aries feud with Baron Corbin getting called up to Raw? Could we see Austin Aries kind of pick up where he left off with Samoa Joe? And I don't think they would acknowledge their history from TNA, but they could have a lot like similar of a feud between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, where they acknowledge their past from Ring of Honor. I think they might have name dropped Ring of Honor here or there. They wouldn't acknowledge TNA, obviously. They might say their past battles in Florida, or they could say, I mean, they were both in Ring of Honor, so they can mention that too. They were both in Ring of Honor around the same time in 2005, so it's possible. But that's one feud, one match I would love to see. We got a taste of that a couple of years ago, maybe Slammiversary 2012. Joe and Aries worked great together.
I was there.
You were there?
Yep.
2012?
Yep.
Or no, I thought you were at the Boston
Oh,
one.
no, that was the Boston one. Was
Yeah.
it 2000?
You were at 2013, right?
13, that's what it was.
Close.
It was the next year.
That was a great show,
a good
too.
one.
But also the impending arrival of Bobby Roode.
Yes.
Could we see the self-proclaimed it factor of pro wrestling get involved with Samoan Submission Machine in the near future? I would love to see that,
I see Bobby Roode and Austin Aries being more of a direct competition than Samoa Joe versus Austin Aries.
As rivals or partners?
As rivals.
Oh, okay.
You know, I definitely feel like the it factor versus the greatest man that's ever lived. I feel like that feud makes a ton of sense, because NXT's right now is missing that kind of arrogance necessarily. We've moved on from Tyler Breeze. We've moved on from the likes of people like Bo Dallas and things like that. So there's a lot of new blood coming in, and what is that going to do to the picture? I just gotta think that Samoa Joe has to be hell-bent on just titles.
Probably. No, great point. I think with Aries and Roode, too, a lot of history there. They have not only had great matches against each other. Austin Aries beat Bobby Roode to win his first and only TNA title back in 2012, and one of my favorite TNA matches of all time. Not to mention they have history as tag team partners, too, as the Dirty Heels. They were teaming up just a year ago in TNA, so there's a lot they could do with those two. I'm just excited for Bobby Roode in general being in NXT. When he showed up, along with Ayabushi from New Japan, I believe is where he's from. What was that?
Yeah, Kota Ibushi.
Kota Ibushi, exactly. When he showed up, very excited. I believe he might be a part of the Global Cruiserweight Series. Bobby Roode, though, I've been a long-time fan of his. I've been saying for a long time that he should go to WWE, and I'm glad to see that his age is not a factor, no pun intended, it factor. But he could be a great, strong addition to NXT, especially now that Corbin, Cruz, Enzo, and Cass, maybe Balor in the near future, are getting moved up to the main roster. This is a perfect time to bring in Bobby Roode, along with the recent arrivals of Shinsuke Nakamura and Austin Aries.
So we have a brand new title picture emerging out of NXT. We're going to see probably the introduction of some new tag teams, I would imagine, and I'm excited to see now that Raw was not, in my opinion, Raw was not truly in the hands of Shane McMahon, and I don't think it could have been in any way based on how the weekend unfolded. But now that we have all of these NXT superstars now called up to the main roster, it's time for them to no longer be NXT superstars. That's not the brand that they are on anymore. And while they have great connections and ties to that world, they now have to prove themselves on Raw, on SmackDown, on the pay-per-view events, and we will be talking about them as they filter themselves through SmackDown, you know, and through some of the events that SmackDown leads into Raw and those types of things. So certainly we'll be talking more about Baron Corbin, but we won't be talking about him directly. We don't talk about Tyler Breeze in the same way and call him an NXT superstar anymore, you know, despite the times when people jump back and forth, a la Emma, Sami Zayn, Zack Ryder, Neville, you know. Certainly an alumni can jump back and forth, but to go from NXT to the main roster, once you're on the main roster, like Tyler Breeze said in a tweet today, I just went to the bank, think I'm good.
It's the best way to put it.
You know,
for anyone complaining that he's jobbing out, and he is, he deserves a lot better, but hey, still getting paid.
Still getting paid, and he's a fantastic competitor. No matter how these storylines are being written or used, they are going out and putting themselves on the line every single night of the week. So knowing that NXT is a little bit insulated from that type of schedule and that type of grueling weight that it puts on your body, I'm expecting to see some really interesting new talent appear in NXT and start sticking around a little bit more.
Well, speaking of Tyler Breeze, Monday's Raw, we saw him in action against the debuting Apollo Crews, who I've been a big fan of for a long time as well. Great to see him debut in Brooklyn in person, and now he's a part of the main roster a lot sooner than I thought he would. But a very good showing against Tyler Breeze, who held his own and bumped around very well for Apollo Crews. But and he's also in action tonight against Curtis Axel. So
yes, the Axeman. Yee!
It'll be great to see how he fares against the former Intercontinental Champion. But Apollo Crews, a guy with a lot of Raw potential. I'm looking forward to seeing how he fares on Raw and SmackDown.
He came out and did everything that Apollo Crews does great. He came out with high energy, extremely acrobatic skill sets for a man of his size, and held down a victory in short time. And against a great competitor like Tyler Breeze. You know, there was nothing that didn't scream future superstar champion, you know, on this guy. So I'm excited to see what Apollo Crews brings. That level of speed in a guy that size, it just reminds me so much of like a more honed and controlled Brock Lesnar.
Absolutely. I feel like I made this comparison to you on Monday. Not to sound racist, but he is, to me, like a hybrid of Brock Lesnar and what Bobby Lashley could have been in WWE. He was not at all polished. Apollo Crews, to me, is, and Brock Lesnar, he was polished too, but I feel like he has that energy that Lesnar does and that pure and unadulterated strength that Lashley does. He has it all into one. That presence about him, comes out smiling.
Well, he's
like
got that award-winning smile, you know?
Exactly.
And he
That's
comes
what
out
makes you
and
wanna
he's just
cheer for
like,
him.
you're just like charmed because the guy looks like he's just having fun. He looks like he's psyched to be there.
He's living the dream.
And then he's in that ring and you see it in his eyes and he's intense like Hogan was, you know? And I'm like, this guy is just, he'll never not be a babyface. He'll always be a babyface. You can't, There's no heel in that man whatsoever.
No.
I love the portrayal of him, True, because it doesn't fit in with the tired tropes of WWE. Again, not to be racist, but they typically book these people the same way. African American superstars, either you're super angry like a la Marcus Corvan, Bobby Lashley, or whatever, or you're chucking and jiving, like doing all this stupid stuff. And we saw it recently with Rich Swann, who was very talented, great dancer. Brodus Clay, same thing. But it feels like they have these tired tropes they just can't escape. And Apollo Crews feels like the exception to that rule. And RJ, you said it yourself a couple of months ago, and I completely agree. I feel like he will be our first African-American WWE champion since The Rock. Other than The Rock, we have never had a black WWE champion. Not World Heavyweight Champion, WWE champion in this company. I feel like he could be the first. So, Art, I'm going to get your thoughts on Apollo Crews. Were you psyched to see him? Were you surprised?
I thought it was good to see Apollo Crews. I think he could have used some more time down in NXT. I think his mic skills could be polished a little bit better. But in-ring wise, he has all the tools to look good on the main roster. Like you said, he had a great match with Tyler Breeze. I think, like you said, he could have used some more time in NXT. I think Baron Corbin could have too, but they're going to call him up now. You have to kind of go the full way. You can't just push him a little bit and then pull him back. I think nowadays on the main roster, you just got to push him and see where it goes from there.
Now, for me, the biggest question I have, we can kind of wrap up on this. It kind of involves what we've been talking about. So obviously, Apollo Crews is a new, call up from NXT, and there's been several other call ups from NXT. We're gonna have the Vaudevillians. We have Baron Corbin. there's now some noticeable gaps in what was, for the last 6 months, a very solid lineup of superstars on the NXT card. So now we have an NXT card that's got some serious holes, especially with the exiting of some superstars, Bull Dempsey, a couple of others here and there. And now we have this loose relationship between Vince McMahon and his son Shane McMahon as to who controls the creative direction of Raw going forward. Now, we could poke holes in that all day long. That's not as fun. But it does lead me to believe that if you have this scenario where there's all this new hope and change going on the main roster, how is that going to be as exciting as the fact that there are new gaps to be filled in NXT and new superstars, Bobby Roode, all of these types of people could now be appearing any day, and it makes NXT must-watch television. I don't know exactly what is must-watch about the main roster right now, other than making sure we watch SmackDown because it's the best wrestling-produced show on television.
Agreed.
But other than that being just a stellar performance and a stellar production, what is must-watch about it? And for me right now, NXT is still more must-watch television than the main roster of WWE. It has that factor of what's going to happen next, who's going to step into those roles, what is Samoa Joe going to do? I can't believe Finn Balor is retained. I can't believe Asuka is the champion. I can't believe American Alpha are on top of the mountain. That's huge.
Yeah.
NXT. No, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say what you're saying. Like, when it comes to the main roster, you have like Apollo Crews, Baron Corbin. They're filling in for the Cenas, the Rollinses, the Ortons. All those guys are hurt. Now that they're leaving, you're having guys like Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, Shinsuke Nakamura, bigger guys than they were in NXT coming in and taking their spots. And now you have Ciampa and Gargano just signed recently, so maybe they could throw them in the tag team action right there.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that same
I was
thing.
thinking about them too. I think you could throw them in the
about
tag team action. They could get rid of one of those teams. They're supposed to be in the global, or at least Gargano's in the global.
They could be
Cruiserweight
both,
Series.
yeah.
But like you said, they're replacing these guys with even bigger names. I think that's what makes NXT must see, because you don't know which big star will come down to NXT and show their skills.
Yeah, and maybe, who knows, maybe Elias Sampson will put down the guitar, pick up a plunger, and find a new line of work.
Hey, maybe. Hopefully. That's the hope anyway. That's the hope.
I
So
mean,
we'll
he's
see.
got to stop drifting around sometimes. You know what kills me?
Drift
It kills me about a person like Elias Sampson, who calls himself a drifter, is announced as one, and then is announced that he is from Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Why do we know where this man has come from? Shouldn't he have just drifted in and loosely filled out, his W-4 form and his
What's
W-2?
so intimidating about Pennsylvania?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, this drifter. No, I know exactly where he's from.
You know
He's
Kurt
not
Angle,
drifting.
buddy.
He
You're not
left
Kurt Angle,
home.
sorry.
You ran away from home. I know where you live. You probably have bills and cats to feed. Okay? Get home, sir. Stay there. That's where you can contribute more from your couch.
We can
than you
pick apart
can
that character
from in
all
the ring.
day. It's just
oh my
awful.
gosh. When he's in the ring though, and he has that crooked smile like Macho Man used to have, and he's got that little bit of crazy in his eye, I get like excited for a second. And then he blows it.
You want to be excited for him. He looks like, on paper, you look at him, he's got a good look. But he steps between the ring, he steps between the ropes, you put a mic in his hand, he starts singing, and I just go,
He sang a song about NXT Dallas. And I was just like, where are you? You should be singing like Lead Belly songs that don't make any sense. I whooped him up the hill. I whooped him up the hill. I whooped him up the hill for me. And just being really weird.
that's what made Jeff Jarrett so great.
Yeah, just come out there and sing these dark, I can see what you're thinking. All your thoughts and fears. Like something brooding. There's enough Townes Van Sant songs out there. Go listen to them. All right,
So he sucks.
I don't want to
Samson
end
sucks.
on that note. Let's move on. Let's tie this up in a nice bow here. What are we going to see tonight on SmackDown that we're the most excited about?
Well, you said yourself, to kind of tie it all right back around, I feel like as exciting as NXT is right now, not that I'm as excited for the main roster, but I would say I would be lying if I said, I'm not going to be excited going forward just because of all the post-WrestleMania stuff that we saw on Raw. And typically, traditionally, the post-WrestleMania Raw is always great. This past week was no exception. And the week after, we come right back down to earth and we're treated with 3 hours of draining programming. However, on Monday night, we saw a lot of great call-ups, for one thing. That's the obvious thing we just talked about. We have a new number one contender in AJ Styles. That, to me, feels fresh. And if they don't blow that, that could be really exciting. Like I said, we have a new IC champion in The Miz, and Maurice is back. I'm really excited about that. All the call-ups, and Cesaro is here back as well. He had a great showing on Monday night. Jericho's sticking around for a little while longer, so there's a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to. Speaking of which, tonight's main event, I'm pumped for. On paper, take my money now, Vince. Cesaro and AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Take my money. Roman Reigns is appearing. Apollo Crews' SmackDown debut. The Vaudevillians, as you said, making their WWE debut. Natalya versus Summer Rae. Dean Ambrose making his first appearance since WrestleMania. How will he respond to the beating that he took at the hands of Brock Lesnar at the Show of Shows? A lot of stuff to look forward to tonight. I can't wait.
I can't wait. You just got me re-excited about everything today. Graham, thank you. That was a fantastic top to bottom. I can't add anything more. That is exactly why I'm excited about SmackDown tonight. That is why I'm excited about SmackDown every week, because you can put all of the other minutia aside. When it is Thursday and we are here at WWEC Radio, we are amped. We are hyped. And we're going to stay hyped.
We don't get hyped. We stay hyped. Always amped. Graham Jason Matthews, like I said, I am ready. Wake up. I say it every single week. Wake up on Thursday. No class today either. Woke up, no class either. So that was great. And I was like, WWEC Radio today. WWEC Radio. We're talking WrestleMania, Raw, TakeOver, Hall of Fame, NXT, Impact, everything. Not really, but pretty much everything of importance here in the world of wrestling. And like I said, as I always say, always have fun doing the show, talking with you guys, breaking down the world of wrestling. And I look forward to what the next 7 days brings, so we could break it, down right next Thursday here on WWEC Radio.
RJ, final thoughts?
I'm just excited for AJ Styles, new number one contender. I think he's bringing some fresh blood down to WWE. It'll be interesting to see what they do between him and
Is that
Roman
you, Chris
Reigns.
Jericho?
Yeah.
No, what? What did we
What to jackass? That's a little lame, sorry. The countdown begins, by the way. The countdown begins in 2 weeks.
Like Jericho's countdown?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Bad sound effects.
Love the countdown. But 2 weeks, we're going to be at NXT Lowell.
Yep.
We're going to be at NXT Lowell.
You lucky ducks and things I can't say on the radio.
Hopefully we will see Nakamura, Aries, all the new call-ups. Bailey, my heart will melt for her. Asuka, can't wait for that. But the next couple weeks will be exciting. We have Payback coming up on May 1st. That in just 2 weeks on April 21st. So much stuff to break down that I'm excited to be talking to you guys about in the weeks ahead.
Guys, this has been a fantastic show. I'm sure we'll touch more about the ramifications and the things that happened over the course of WrestleMania weekend. Thank you for tuning in to WWEC Radio. This next song right here, where we always close out on a high note, and not like last week's low note, which was Limp Bizkit, which we will not play again on this show. They've been banned from this show officially, and that's my way or the highway. But this song goes out to you, Elias Sampson. You want to talk about writing your own songs? This is a song that I wrote. This is a song that's really and truly about being from parts unknown. This is The Uncanny by Look Sharp.
Back in time to the days of future past. your heart.